Let me open another case file from Imperial history. A case that was never meant to exist. A case created by a single mistake. One spoken name that should never have carried the weight it did. It begins in the Imperial Court, on a morning filled with routine reports. The Emperor was tired, pressured to move quickly through thick stacks of memorials. He did what many rulers before him had done. He relied on the voices of attendants to summarize each document aloud. This was the first failure of the system. Not the Emperor's mood, nor the official involved, but the dangerous assumption that spoken words are always clear. A name was read. A common name. One shared by more than a dozen men serving throughout the administration. The memorial itself was vague, only a brief reference to past misconduct worth investigation. But in the echoing hall, with attendants delivering rapid reports, the Emperor misheard the name. A slight shift in tone, a syllable swallowed, a breath too short. The wrong man entered the Emperor's mind. He looked up and issued a command as cold as the marble beneath his feet. Detain him. Interrogate immediately. No one asked which him. No one sought clarification. No one dared to slow the machinery of the court. This was the second failure. In a world of absolute authority, hesitation was more dangerous than obedience. So the warrant was written, the arrest was made, and a man who had done nothing, who had served quietly for years, was taken into custody because his name resembled someone else's. Inside the holding room, he tried to explain the mistake. The officials already suspected it. His records were clean, his reputation honest, his past commendable. But the order existed. A written command outranked evidence. Procedure outranked truth. And no one wanted to be the person who returned to the Emperor to say, "Your Majesty, perhaps you heard incorrectly." By the time evening arrived, the real subject of the memorial had been located, but the system chose the easier path. The archives were amended to claim he had fled upon learning of the investigation, and the man who had been wrongly detained was reclassified as guilty of concealed offenses, a term often used when the court wished to justify a predetermined conclusion. That was the third failure. Records could be changed to suit the outcome. Facts existed only after the verdict was written. At dusk, the execution order arrived. Short, quiet, final. He was led from his cell through a narrow corridor lit only by a single torch. No crowd, no reading of crimes, no final words recorded. Just the soft scrape of boots on stone as a man lost his life to a mistake no one dared to correct. Later that night, when the Emperor was told there might have been some confusion, he did not respond with shock or anger or regret. He simply said, "It is done." Because reversing the judgment would mean admitting that the imperial process, the very symbol of order, could break, and a system built on infallibility cannot afford to acknowledge error. So the archives closed the case as if nothing unusual had happened. A misheard name, a misplaced order, a life rewritten, not by malice, not by conspiracy, but by the quiet violence of a system that valued decisiveness over accuracy. This is why the case matters, because it was not unique. Variations of this story appear in multiple dynasties, some recorded plainly, others woven into court anecdotes. Each one follows the same pattern, a moment of miscommunication becoming an irreversible judgment, sealed by silence and protected by authority. And the lesson survives. In any world governed by unchecked power, truth is fragile, and fate can hinge on the smallest human error, a breath, a tone, a name spoken a little too quickly. The man deserved better, but the system demanded certainty, so certainty was created, even at the cost of a life that should never have been touched at all.